Hello. Hi, Veg Lovers. My name is Megan Lambert, and I am a masculine feminine intimacy coach, which means that I help men understand women, and I help women get more in touch with their body and their sexuality. So that's what I do. I live in Bali. I travel frequently, and it is a pleasure to be connecting with you through the online space like this. And thank you for listening. So the topic today is how to love and leave well. And we're going to focus on the leaving part. And you may not be in that situation now, but this can still be helpful, like tools in your toolkit for the next time that you are ready to transition out of a relationship. It's one of those skills where we've never been taught how to love and how to leave well. And so that is my intention with this video, is to give you some tools for that situation. So maybe you've been in a situation like that before, where you're slowly starting to get distant from a partner. There's some space growing. Maybe you feel like you don't love them, or the chemistry's not there, the passion's not there. So you start to wonder, is it time to go? And I think every couple has this question at one point or another. Is it time to go? And so let's talk about what are some reasons that it might be time to go, and what are some reasons it might not. So the two most common reasons that people break up from my experience, I coach couples and singles. Number one, we don't love each other anymore. Number two, we're fighting a lot. And in my opinion, neither of those are good reasons to end a relationship. Why? So the first one, we don't love each other anymore. Not a good reason, because to me, I think love it's an art that you're cultivating with this person. You are being your loving self and sharing it with another person. And so the phrase, we don't love each other anymore, I almost hear it like we've gotten lazy in the art of cultivating love for each other. So if you think about it, like, are you actively loving your partner? Are you making them tea in the morning? Are you telling them how much you appreciate them? Are you giving them back massages? Are you writing them love notes? All these little things that come really easy in the beginning, after the initial stage, require active cultivation to continue. And so if you're feeling like we don't love each other anymore, it might just mean that it's time to that you could spend some more time cultivating love. So that's the first reason people break up, which I don't necessarily think is the best reason. The second reason is we're fighting a lot. So here's what I would say about fighting. It can actually be immensely powerful to have disagreements and fights with your partner, because there's kind of this like creative friction rub that happens in a fight, where it's like, this is important to me and this is important to me, and how do we work it out together? And that can be very constructive. The thing that I would ask you is, if you're fighting a lot, are you getting closer after each fight, or are you becoming more distant? Because there's virtuous and vicious cycles. So, for example, she says, you never take out the trash. And then he says, well, you don't even appreciate me. I do all these things around the house, and I bring home the money for the family. And she says, yeah, but you never come home and you don't spend time together. This could easily cycle out into a vicious cycle, creating more and more distance. Where he feels like he's bringing home, being the breadwinner or whatever. This is kind of a sexist example, I'm sorry. He's being the breadwinner. She feels like she misses him. So that could cycle out. But it could also be a virtuous cycle, where you get to discover what's important to each person. So maybe to him, appreciation is really important, and he feels like he needs more of that. Maybe to her, attention is really important, and she feels like she's lacking in some of his attention. So if you're fighting, it's an opportunity to see what is important both to you and to your partner. But that being said, if each fight it's getting more and more vicious and it's bringing you further and further apart, that means that you two are locked in a dynamic that you can't yet get out of by yourselves. And this is a really good time to hire a coach, or a really wise friend, or somehow get some external help on that spot, because you two can't get out of it by yourself, which is okay. Pretty much every couple at some point gets into a dynamic, a fight, a spot they can't get out of by themselves. So no fear in admitting that you could use some help there. And feel free to reach out to me too if that is something you need help with. Okay, so then why would you leave? What are some good reasons? I would say it comes down to values. Values and where you want to take your life. What is the direction you're taking your life? So for example, say you value family and holding the family together. And even if you don't feel that lovey towards your partner, maybe it's not time to go because your primary value is family and holding the family together. But say if you value personal growth and you feel like you've been growing, you've been changing, you really want to explore and push your edges, but your partner doesn't, that might be a really legitimate time to go. And it's painful to admit that. Or if you're valuing freedom and you're feeling trapped, it could be time to go, or it could be time to renegotiate your relationship, like asking for more space, taking a little bit of time apart. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to break up, but it could be an indicator that there's some shifts, like the form of how you're relating needs to change. Another one is if you are craving deeper intimacy and your partner is consistently and repeatedly not available, not present, and doesn't seem to want that depth of intimacy, that could be a time to go too. So those are a couple of reasons why it might be a good time to go. And I think in general, two people are coming together in a relationship, right? Because they've bought into a shared vision of life. If your shared vision of life changes, and as it will, like both people are continually evolving in a relationship, and it no longer feels compatible, that could be a good time to go. But really, there's no clear-cut answer. The biggest thing is like, what is it that you value? And can you have the things that you value in this relationship or not? Okay, good. So let's say I'm gonna drink some water. It's very hot here in Bali. And if you have a pen and paper, this might be a good time to just jot down some notes. First question is it time to go? How do you know? The second one is, how do you leave skillfully? So say that you realize it really is time to break up and it's time to go your separate ways. How do you do that in a way that's graceful and skillful? So I'll start by saying what most couples do. Most couples, when they feel that it's time for their relationship to change form, they create a drama or a climax or something massive to justify ending the relationship. This looks like cheating on your partner, picking a big dramatic fight, pointing out all of your partner's flaws. Those are a few of the ways that I've seen lately in my clients. Ways that they are picking fights or doing something in order to create enough disconnection to justify ending the relationship. Because here's the thing, choosing to leave is sad. It brings up grief. There is no way around that. And I think sometimes we don't want to sit with the grief of it. And so we try to find reasons why. And there's a Chinese expression, it's like, first you blame the other person, then you blame yourself, and then you blame no one. This is in terms of spiritual growth. So like on your path, if at first you might be like, my partner's not good enough, they're not loving me well, blah, 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 and that's why you break up. If you're feeling more mature, then it might be like, well, I want something different. It's my fault. I can't love them the way I want to. I need something different. That's the second. And then the third is just like, it just feels like we're going like this, and that's okay. And that there's no one to blame, and it's still sad. So just like when a flower dies in the garden, it's like, it can be sad, but it's also like flowers aren't meant to last forever. Relationships aren't meant to last forever. And I think sometimes we have this idealistic fantasy of like, oh, if I fall in love, it will last forever. But each person is constantly growing and changing and evolving, like snakes shedding skin. Like unless you can evolve together, there will usually come a point when it is time to go. So, yeah. And then how do you leave skillfully without creating a bunch of drama? I would say sit down with your partner, tell them what you want, that you're feeling like it's time to go. Let them know how much they mean to you. Cry, and then take space. Yeah. So say that you've had the conversation. What's the next step? The next step is a ritual. And this, for me at least, I find rituals so powerful and important in the breakup process because they're a marker. So like, think about it. When someone dies, we have a funeral, and it's important closure for everyone that loved that person to come to the funeral, to share some gratitude, some good memories, and then to put the body in the earth or the cremation or whatever, and then part. And I think relationships are like a living, breathing entity, and they also deserve funerals. So you can do this ritual either with your person or solo. And if they are not open to doing a ritual with you because they're too hurt or shaken up or angry or whatever, that's okay. You can still do the ritual solo. So I'll give you an example of a partnered ritual first and then a solo one. So a partnered one, and I actually did this with my last partner. You can light a candle and then share 5 gratitudes with each other. Things that you loved about the other person, loved about your relationship, ways they impacted you. Like, I'm so grateful for that week that we got to spend with your family, getting to know each other. Or I'm grateful that you always made my coffee in the morning and I woke up immediately feeling loved. So something like that. And then share 5 learnings with the other person. So 5 ways that you have grown or evolved with the other person. So this could be like, I have learned how to share uncomfortable truths more easily and freely through loving you. Or I have learned how to express my emotions. Or I have learned how to soften and let myself be cared for. So some way that you've grown or shifted as a result. And this one's important because I believe that there's no relationship that is a mistake. You are you here in the form that you are, and I have no doubt that you watching this are an amazing human. And your ex-lover shaped the human that you are today. So if you like who you are now, the only thing to give is gratitude and thanks for the people that have come before you. Because they've shaped you, they've learned you. Every relationship is a learning experience. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's pleasurable, but they're all shaping you into the human that you are today. So, and then the last one that I do in this partnered ritual is 5 wishes for the other person in their journey. Because this acknowledges that your life is going in separate ways, and it's like giving them a little gift before you part. So this might be like, I hope you travel the world and feel totally free. Or I hope that you, find the exact kind of love and nourishment that you've been looking for. So, and then you can blow out the candle. So that's the partnered ritual. If you are doing it solo, and you can do both partnered and solo too, this is what I would do. Again, I'd light a candle, and then I would write 10 things that you loved about your partner and the relationship, and 10 things that didn't work. And here's about the partner or about the relationship, 10 things you didn't love. And here's why I would do this. Because after you break up with a partner, it is really easy. You get down the road, first the heartbreak and the sadness, and then you get a little bit further down the road, and the nostalgia will kick in. And then you'll want to put on your rosy tinted glasses and think about your relationship and be like, oh, it was so good. He was such an amazing man. She was the best woman I've ever had. And it's really easy to feel that way and to want to slip back into getting back together with them because of the nostalgia hit. So that's why I like the balance of both something you loved about that person and something you did not love about that person. Keep in mind, this is in the solo ritual, not the partnered ritual, because in the partnered ritual, it is not helpful to be like, I didn't like all these things that you did. Not helpful for them to receive. But you can admit it in the solo ritual. Okay. So, and then what I would do is I would read the 10 things you liked, the 10 things you didn't like, and then say something like, I release you now. I go my way free, and I hope you do too. And then blow out the candle. And in this, you can have people with you. Tears are welcome. It might bring up grief. This is really an important part of the process of breaking up with someone. So the next phase after the rituals is to take exquisite care of yourself. You are grieving. Breakups are trauma. It is trauma in our bodies because you've been attached to this person. You've created something with them, and then you're ending it. And so, of course, there's going to feel like there's trauma in your body, in your heart, and your mind, even if it's the right thing. Almost especially if it's the right thing. So what I'd say is, like, know that you're in crisis. Go slow. Be gentle with yourself. It's like, look, if you had a family member that died, you would not be like, all right, time to head back to work and hit all my goals and move forward. No, you would be like, I might need to take a couple of days off work, or maybe I just take a lot of long salt baths, or maybe I just cry every single day, and that's okay. The thing that I would say is, like, do your best to stay with yourself and your feelings. And this grief is important. It is important and is necessary. The other thing, though, is as humans, we often look for things to comfort ourselves with. And so as you're grieving this breakup, your tendency will be to go for ways to numb, whether that's alcohol or drugs or coffee or flirtation or sex or Netflix or porn or whatever your addiction du jour is. It will get louder in the wake of this breakup because you're feeling grief. It makes sense. And there's even this, oh my God, the expression, the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. I don't think that's necessarily the best way. It is probably effective at numbing your feelings in the short term, but those feelings don't go away. If you don't feel them, they'll get stuck and stored in your body, and they'll come back later. So while I know it's tempting in the wake of a breakup to want to jump on Tinder or hit up that old colleague that you've always thought was cute, or try to get laid or do something, do your best not to. Just be with yourself and your feelings. I promise you are, as painful as it is, you're building a stronger foundation for the next person that you love if you can stay with yourself and your feelings. And that being said, sometimes we do need to numb. Like in my last breakup, I had chocolate cake almost every single day. And I was like, I know I'm numbing with this cake, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so it's like, sometimes it happens. So you can be kind to yourself there too. So the grieving is normal. It's important. And how long do you grieve? I would say it's generally, there's this statistics, a third the length of the relationship is how long you'll be grieving. And I'm not really into formulas. I think there's a lot of factors involved, but it is kind of a helpful benchmark. So say you dated this person for 3 years. It might take a year of just being with yourself and your emotions before you're really ready to have a new relationship. But that being said, you know yourself better. Don't like browbeat yourself if you fall in love before then or whatever. Okay, this point is critical though. Do not have contact with the other person in your grieving period. Oh my God. When I'm coaching people, I see this all the time. You break up and then you want to stay friends, and then you still communicate, you still text, maybe you're even still sleeping together. Sex has a term for a reason. What I see in this, what I see is this, it creates a watery, painful dynamic. Because there's a lot of your relationship can't transition that seamlessly, generally. Maybe you've had a different experience that's proved me wrong, but in my experience, what I've seen is the relationship does not transition from intimate to friends without a little bit of space to grieve. And it can make it really painful and tough to move on if you're still intimately involved with your ex. So that's what I would say. Give yourself no contact space and honor that this is a big transition. Okay, so you're grieving. Next step, and this is super important and often neglected, but before getting into any new relationship or intimacy, what I would recommend is doing some personal reflection about how you showed up in the last relationship. And so this one is about personal responsibility. So it's looking at the part that you have played in your last relationship and be like, how did I show up in that relationship? What did I do well? And then how did I hurt the other person and myself? And this one's really important to get honest with yourself. And then the last question is, what do I commit to doing differently next time? And the important thing about this is about you taking responsibility for your actions. It is not about your partner and their actions. It does nobody any good if you're like, this is called taking another person's inventory. But if you like point out all the ways that your partner failed you and failed the relationship, that's just going to make you feel bitter and resentful. But what is helpful is looking at the ways that you would like to show up differently in the next relationship. So for example, and this is an honest one for me, this is my inventory. In my last relationship, when I wanted something, love or comfort or reassurance, it felt so vulnerable and I didn't know how to express it vulnerably. So I often got demanding or harsh and criticized him. It was a way I tried to avoid feeling vulnerable. It's only by looking at that and acknowledging it and the pain that it caused both to me and to him that then I can go into my next relationship and have awareness on that and do my best instead to be vulnerable and ask for what I want instead of to be harsh and critical. And this type of reflection is how you get off the merry-go-round. So if you've ever had a relationship after relationship that ended in the same way, it means you need more time for personal reflection. It means that there are lessons to be harvested from the last relationship before you start the next one. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's good. And then the last step, if you choose to, this could be a good time. So after the grieving period and after you've done your personal reflection, it may feel good to reconnect with your partner and to share the insights that you've had and thank them for helping you on your path. So what this could look like is you could do a 20-minute phone call and just say, hey, these are a couple of the ways that I showed up. I wanted to apologize for that and let you know that I am working on those behaviors and that I love you and I hope you're doing well. That being said, it's only if your partner is open to it. They might not be ready to talk to you. They might not be ready to hear it. You might not be ready to talk to them. But that can be a nice way to reconnect and just to add one more level of closure to the breakup. So, and then you can say goodbye. You can, at this point, if you'd like to become friends, that could be a good point. But people always ask, like, how do I become friends with my ex? And I would say, don't do it until you've grieved and reflected on your part and really given yourself time and space to be with you first. Because otherwise, it's really tempting to use the friendship as a way to kind of like cover up the pain of the breakup. I hope that is helpful. And here, if you want to talk more, if you would like to connect, I would love to help you in your love journey in whatever way I can. So feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Megan Lambert, or you can find me through my website, megandlambert.com. All right, and wishing you a lot of love and well, I would say love first with yourself because I think that's where it begins, and then with all the people that you interact with. All right, have a great day.